back.
It's going to be Wade. Roll Tide. There you go.
It's light work, period. Light work.
Jasmine Walker.
Joshua Primo. Herbert Jones.
Roll Tide and welcome to Tide TV This Week. I'm Roger Hoover, joined by Kira Goldstein. And Kira, we finally had football back here in Tuscaloosa.
Yes, another dominating performance by the Tide, who are now 2-0.
2-0 on the season as the Crimson Tide held their home opener here in Bryant-Denny Stadium this past Saturday as Alabama defeated Mercer 48-14.
Let's take an all-access look at the highlights between the Tide and the Bears.
Tell the wait to start another round. Millie on my wrist, I bust it down. King in my city, wear the crown. Got a check, need another now. I can never get enough.
Carter Peavy. Oh, Alabama got it. Bama with the punt block, looking for offense from special teams. And it'll be a walk-in 31-yard return.
Get enough. You couldn't get money, need a new set. Try to go against session, need a new bet. Been here 10 summers, but I ain't lose yet.
That one tipped and intercepted. Kool-Aid McKinstry came right through the brick wall after Drew Sanders tipped it. They go to Robinson on the perimeter, and he slides his way through for a gain of 14 on first down. Young eludes it. 1-foot throw. Here's JoJo Earl. And he stays on his feet for a Bama first down inside the 5. Hand it off, Robinson, and the entire pile will end up in the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama.
Turn it to an encore, got a him, but I ain't stopping till I go get me some more. Tell the wait to start another round. Millie on my wrist, I bust it down. King in my city, wear the crown. Got a check, need another now. I can never get enough. Woo! Yeah, that's right. I can never get enough. Come on.
Play action on third down. Peavy, pressure, taken down. Alabama sack, DJ Dale.
Need a new bet. Been here 10 summers, boy, and I ain't lose yet. Cause I can never.
Pressure for the edge. Peavy pressured again. And he will crumple again. Fadarian Mathis.
That pop bottles of Douce with my real new. That's down south like Bousse. Turn the VIP into the project.
Young finds Bolden, nobody in front of him. And he goes airborne for an Alabama touchdown. Looks, finds, touchdown. Jamison Williams. Oh, intercepted on an underthrown ball. And Alabama's got another big defensive play with a takeaway from Marcus Banks.
King in my city, wear the crown. Got a check, need another now. I can never get enough.
Trying to find the edge. Yeah, they barely do.
Come on. I can never get enough. You couldn't get money, need a new set.
Leading the way. First down, touchdown. Jason McClellan.
I can never get enough.
With a 48-14 win, the Tide's streak of scoring at least 30 points in a game was extended to an FBS leading 28 consecutive games. Also, the Tide's 28-game streak is the second longest in major college football history, with only UCF having a longer streak of 31 games from 2017 through 19.
Yeah, the Crimson Tide have won an incredible 55 of their last 57 games at home.
Crimson Tide own the best all-time home winning percentage in the FBS with an .834 win percentage with a record of 278 wins, 54 losses, and 3 ties at Bryant-Denny since its opening way back in 1929.
Roger, each week Coach Saban and the coaching staff select their Players of the Week. So let's take a look at this week's Players of the Week for the win over Mercer.
This week, Coach Saban and the staff honored 6 players, and we start with a couple on offense. In his first game playing at Bryant-Denny Stadium, freshman wide receiver JoJo Earl led the team with a game-high 7 receptions and 85 yards. Junior offensive lineman Evan Neal recorded the highest grade of all of its Crimson Tide offensive linemen, as Neal was perfect on all assignments, totaling 4 knockdown blocks.
On defense, junior linebacker Christian Harris recorded a team-high 8 tackles, including 1 tackle for a loss and 4 solo stops. Freshman defensive back Kool-Aid McKinstry made a splash in his first game in Bryant-Denny as well. Kool-Aid tied for second on the team with 6 tackles and also had a pass breakup and the first interception of his career. And sophomore linebacker Drew Sanders made his first start for the Crimson Tide, breaking up a pair of passes to go along with 2 tackles.
And to round out the coaching staff's Players of the Week, Jace McClellan was chosen on special teams. McClellan picked up a block punt and returned it 33 yards for the first score of the game. McClellan also added a pair of tackles on special teams, 1 on a punt and another on kickoff return coverage.
And those are the 6 Players of the Week for the Mercer game as selected by Coach Saban and the staff.
Here this week, Alabama travels to Gainesville to take on the Florida Gators. Next week, the Tide will return home to take on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles.
Yeah, and this week we found out the kickoff time and channel for the game. It will be under the lights. Alabama and Southern Miss will kick off at 6:30 Central on September 25th. The game will be televised on SEC Network.
And stay with us when we come back. We'll preview this weekend's matchup in the Swamp between #1 Alabama and the 11th ranked Florida Gators.
Tide TV This Week is presented by the University of Alabama, where legends are made. Ford, for great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. We just took an all-access look at the Tide's home opening win against Mercer. Now let's turn our attention to this weekend's SEC opener for the Crimson Tide.
It will be a top 25 matchup between the Tide and the Gators. For a preview of this weekend's matchup, our Christopher England joins us now.
It's a rematch of last season's SEC championship. #1 Alabama travels to Gainesville to take on #11 Florida. It will be the 42nd meeting overall, with the Crimson Tide holding a 27-14 edge over the Gators. And to preview this weekend's showdown in the Swamp, I'm joined by former Alabama and NFL quarterback John Parker Wilson. JP, it's good to see you again.
Man, good to be back. First SEC road game, so this is going to be an exciting weekend.
Yeah, exactly. It's the SEC opener for the Tide. And, you know, John Parker, there have been some great games between Alabama and Florida in the series history, but it's been 10 years since the Crimson Tide have played the Gators in Gainesville. Bryce Young will be making his first road start as a starting quarterback for the Crimson Tide. How do you think the environment will affect him and this offense that started slow last week at home against Mercer?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to see his first road start. So there's I know a lot of emotions for him and a lot to deal with. It's going to be a loud stadium. I know they've been practicing this week and all throughout the summer with using that crowd noise to try to simulate it. So you just go out there and I think he'll get it figured out pretty quickly. Just trying to use a lot of nonverbal communications to talk to his guys. But he's been playing well in his first 2 games, so I'm expecting more out of that from Bryce this week.
Well, John Parker, we saw Alabama come out in the season opener and dominate a top 15 team in Miami, but the Tide can't afford a repeat of last week's slow start in the first quarter. How do you see the Alabama offense matching up against this Todd Grantham-led Florida Gators defense?
Yeah, you know, I think it's going to be all coming up to the play up front. Offensive line has played really well in the first 2 games, but this is a very aggressive Florida defensive line. So it's about controlling it up front and giving Bryce some time. I think they're going to try to blitz and try to make Bryce uncomfortable. So he's got to get the ball out quick and kind of get a feel for the game. So like a lot of SEC games, it's going to come up to how well we play in the front 5 guys.
Well, JP, the Gators offense hasn't been totally sharp either. Emory Jones has thrown 4 interceptions already against Florida Atlantic and South Florida. Last year's #1 passing offense is currently ranked 68th in the nation. However, the Gators' rushing attack is pretty good. They're currently ranked 2nd in the nation, averaging 355 yards per game. Anthony Richardson has shown to be a spark for Florida at the quarterback position. How do you think the Alabama defense matches up against this Florida offense, and could we see more of Richardson on Saturday?
Yeah, I think we will. And they've had a ton of production rushing the ball. Most of that has come from their quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks are leading the team in rushing right now. So with the loss of Christopher Allen, it's going to be tough. Guys have to continue to step up. We saw Drew Sanders have a really good game last week. So it's going to take more of that with our front seven really matching up against this Florida team, because they're going to try to rush the ball and then take some shots over top. Two of our starting cornerbacks were out last week with Jalen Armour-Davis and Josh Jobe. So hopefully they get back to be able to combat that deep ball. But it's going to come down, like on our side of the ball, when we're on the offense, to how well our defensive line plays and really freeing up our linebackers, because, man, Will Anderson, Christian Harris, Henry To'oTo'o, these guys have been playing really well. And a lot of that is because of the success we've had up front on the defensive line.
Well, it should be a fun one in the Swamp on Saturday, JP. Thank you for your insight on the matchup once again.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Kickoff in Gainesville between number 1 Alabama and number 11 Florida is set for 2:30 Central Time. The game will be televised on CBS. You can listen to John Parker Wilson, Eli Gold, and the rest of the Crimson Tide Sports Network crew online and on the radio beginning at 11:30. Stay with us. We'll have more Tide TV This Week coming up next.
Tide TV This Week is presented by Ford. For great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. I'm Keira Goldstein, joined by my co-host Roger Hoover. Roger, after a very close loss to number 6 ranked TCU, the Alabama soccer team lost 2-1 in overtime, but they returned to play with an in-state game against the UAB Blazers.
Yeah, going into Sunday night's matchup, Alabama had won the last 5 matches against UAB, some really good recent success against the Blazers. On Sunday, it was a scoreless first half, but the Tide got things going in the 60th minute. Off a perfectly placed free kick from Alicia Knox, Tana Sanchez-Corotto finds the back of the net. A great kick from Knox and from Sanchez-Corotto. She finishes it off to give Alabama the 1-0 lead for her first goal of the season. Then it was not very long after that. Only about 30 seconds later, Ashlyn Serepka dribbles to the top of the box and finds the back of the net off of a long, great kick. Serepka's 3rd goal of the season gave the Crimson Tide 2 goals in just over 30 seconds. Serepka's goal was her 3rd of the season, 2-0 Crimson Tide. Following that, goalkeeper McKinley Crone, she had 3 saves in her 90 minutes of play as Alabama rolled to a 2-0 victory over the UAB Blazers.
It's a huge win. I know we've been itching for one. We've created a lot of chances the past couple games, and unfortunately luck hasn't gone our way, so we're just happy that we can get the ball in the back of the net and just a huge team win. I think we've improved each and every game, so I think that win is huge.
For the Alabama soccer team, that victory over the Blazers evens the Tide's record at 4-4 on the season.
An exciting win for the Tide. The Alabama men's golf team began their season this past weekend at the Maui Jim Intercollegiate. The Tide finished 10th out of 15 teams. Coach Sewell's squad was led by Thomas Ponder, who finished tied for 19th, 6 under par.
For more on the Alabama men's golf team as they begin the season, let's hear from head coach Jay Sewell.
I'm really excited about these young guys because they're enthused too. We're a young team, but it is a team that is, I can already see in the first 2 weeks, the unity and the culture is already starting to come back that we really lost over the last year or so. Thomas Ponder, who was an All-SEC performer last year, is someone whose work ethic is second to no one who's ever played here or even in the country. And then Cannon Claycomb is someone that I believe has such natural leadership qualities. And those 2 guys seem to be the ones that tend to be the leaders. I do think there's some other guys. I think JPK from Mobile and Jack Goldisich are 2 guys that are natural leaders also that our other players will follow. They just need to learn those qualities. And that's kind of what we're trying to teach again. The guys have done an incredible job of creating a vision statement, how important it is to be part of this program. What do we need to do that? How are accountability things to be set up in that? And then also they've developed not only that vision, they've set up almost kind of a mantra. We're right now a team that needs to get back to where we have. We have an incredible tradition and we've kind of gone down. We allowed some things to happen and our players and coaches are dedicated to bring that back. And that's going to be the goals of this team, to set the standards and the traditions back to what Alabama golf is and will always be.
You can tell they authentically play for each other.
Alabama does it. Absolute
perfection. How good can the Crimson Tide be again in 21?
It just doesn't show any sign of slowing down.
It's all about the process.
It's more than a buzz at Bryant-Denny.
This guy's not going anywhere.
He doesn't just roll out great players. He and his staff develop them.
Bama's dominance shouldn't scare you. It should energize you.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week. The Alabama men's tennis team opens their fall season this weekend in Tuscaloosa with the Alabama 4 in the fall.
This is a really special team for head coach George Husak with a very unique trait. For more on that, our Kennedy Chase joins us now. Kennedy?
Did you know that Alabama men's tennis team represents 10 different countries? That fact is even more interesting when you take into account that the team is only made up of 8 players and 2 assistant coaches.
I love having a diverse team. I grew up with an American father and a Danish mother, so I spent a lot of my time in Europe and around people from different cultures. And the opportunity here, the way it's worked out, to have 10 different countries represented in our program has been a blessing. I think it has allowed us to really learn from each other. It has bridged probably some gaps that have been there before based on any beliefs that people thought they had from how they were raised. And it's really allowed us to learn a lot from each other through communication and again, strengthening those relationships.
And we are 8 guys here, 8 different nationalities, and I think it's great. Everyone can speak like very nice, and I mean, I'm very close from Juan, for example, because he's from Argentina. And it's easier, this kind of relationship. I mean, it's easier for me to talk Spanish, to speak Spanish, but everyone is so friendly and it's fine.
I think it's a really cool experience to have like 10 different countries represented in our team, and we can learn so much from each other and each other's cultures, and every day is a new day that you learn something from one another, and you always have good laughs with each other.
Having 10 countries represented amongst the 8 players and 3 coaches, I think it's just kind of a unique, lucky, special thing. They probably don't all realize this, but you go into our locker room and we have flags of each player's home country hanging in their locker. And it's kind of a unique situation to go in there and see so many different flags, along with Alabama flags hanging in the lockers that are not being used. So I think it's a little bit of luck. I think it's also an opportunity for them to create relationships that will last a lifetime, not only with each other, but also myself and them, and hope to visit them in their native countries, in the future.
This team is special to me because we have so many different countries represented. We have a great vibe together. We really enjoy spending time with each other and just like have a good positive energy.
I think that diversity can contribute to our success in the sense that we're bringing a lot of different systems and mindsets into one program, one team. So everyone is forced to understand each other. Everyone is forced to communicate with each other and learn from each other. And I think that develops a strong relationship, more trust, and a stronger team overall. So yeah, whether we're from different parts of the US or from different parts of the world, I do think that diversity can contribute to our success.
Roll Tide.
I'm super happy here. Roll Tide. Let's go.
Although they are from all over the world, Coach Husak says they all share the same language, the language of tennis. Their differences only make them stronger players and better people. But don't go anywhere. We have more Tide TV This Week coming up next.
In a season of chaos,
you can tell they authentically play for each other.
Alabama does it. Absolute perfection. How good can the Crimson Tide be again in 21?
It just doesn't show any sign of slowing down.
It's all about the process.
It's more than a buzz at Bryant-Denny.
This guy's not going anywhere.
He doesn't just roll out great players. He and his staff develop them.
Bama's dominance shouldn't scare you. It should energize you.
And we're ready to go with Felicia Knox. Right side of the box and to the back. 2 goals in a flash for the Crimson Tide.
And throws ball, tipped, intercepted Alabama. Kool-Aid McKinstry. This one is blocked.
Blocked by Alabama. It's picked up on the near sideline. Down the right side. And taking it in for a touchdown. Alabama. Quick throw into the right side. It's loose and caught by Alabama. Intercepted by Marcus Banks. Here's Slade Bolden down the left sideline. He is in. Touchdown, Alabama.
Those were our ATI Plays of the Week. Now let's take a look at our Players of the Week, brought to you by Legacy of Hope.
And for this week, Polly Mack led the Alabama women's golf team to a 4th place finish at the Annika Intercollegiate. Mack finished for 8th overall. She shot a 74 on Monday, tied for the tournament high on Tuesday with 67, and finished on Wednesday with a 72.
And hey, Kool-Aid, in his first career start, freshman Kool-Aid McKinstry had a fantastic debut in Bryant-Denny Stadium. McKinstry was second on the team with 6 tackles. He added a pass breakup and intercepted the first pass of his career.
And from the Alabama soccer team, we go with Tana Sanchez-Corretto. She scored her first goal of the season and 3rd of her career with this kick in the back of the net to give Alabama the 1-0 lead over UAB.
Congratulations to Polly, Kool-Aid, and Tana. They are our Legacy of Hope Players of the Week. Another big week for the Crimson Tide, Roger.
Yeah, now we get to see Alabama go on the road for the first time in SEC play, the opener on Saturday against the Florida Gators. We want to remind you as well to tune in next week as we bring you more on the Crimson Tide and all-access content on the Crimson Tide you can't get anywhere else. See you next week, everybody. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.